Conversations with Niki is brought to you by studyapps.co.za, South Africa's leading education app for tablets. Well, welcome and Happy New Year. This is Conversations with Niki, and I'm Niki Seberini. After a short break, I am back. I'm delighted to be with you, and I thank you so much for tuning in. I'd like to welcome our syndication partner listeners. That's Bay FM, West Coast FM, Wild Coast FM, Kawi FM, MC 90.3 FM, Neisner FM, Eldo's FM, and of course, Chai FM. I'd also like to remind you that we have a giveaway on the show at the moment. I'm giving away an Android ColdPad 2 7-inch Wi-Fi tablet, and that is courtesy of tabletworld.co.za. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, how can you get your hands on that tablet? Very, very simple. Go to my Facebook page and like it, and then your name will be entered into a draw which will take place early Feb, and we'll do the draw on the show. So I'll be announcing the winner on the show, and wherever you are, we'll be sending that ColdPad tablet to you. So the Facebook page is just go to facebook.com/Conversations with Niki, and Niki is spelled N-I-K-I. So just to repeat, go to the Facebook page, like it, and you could win that fantastic Android ColdPad 2 7-inch Wi-Fi tablet. And as I said, courtesy of Tablet World, your one-stop Android tablet solutions company for individuals, students, and colleges. tabletworld.co.za. So, 2014 is finally upon us. And I wonder, were you excited to say goodbye to 2013? Because I've got to tell you, on social media, the impression that I got was that many people had a tough year. 2013 was a tough year. And I do wonder to myself, if we're going to say that at the end of every year, are we just feeling the pressure of this modern day life, this very stressful existence that we have created for ourselves? And or was 2013 really, did it stand out for you as a very challenging year on a personal level, professional level, and are you delighted to have entered into a fresh new space, that which is 2014? And what is a fresh new space? Are you the kind of person who on the 31st of December 2013, you woke up on the 1st of Jan and it was just another day, means absolutely nothing to you? Or did you wake up and did you really think to yourself, this is a fresh start? And if you did, why is it a fresh start? Why is just another day going to be something new and bring new opportunities, or give you the strength to overcome challenges, or perhaps put those challenges behind you? Well, just to share something a little bit personal with you, the end of last year, I was absolutely exhausted. In fact, I could go so far as to say that I was perhaps even suffering from burnout. It was, when the most mundane of things is just a big deal, like making yourself a piece of toast. It's this groundhog day of exhaustion, and I was very, very lucky to be able to go on holiday, and many of you have been able to go on holiday, and many of you have not been able to go on holiday. But having that break and getting out of the normal everyday tasks and the mundane and a different environment, and spending quality time and not having to do things at a certain time, just broke that routine. And for the first few days I was still in go mode, but then after a few days it was as if I had my little plug inserted into the socket in the wall, and slowly my battery started to charge. And by the end of the holiday, I felt renewed, and I felt as if anything that came my way would be, something that could be overcome very easily. And I kind of saw the eyes with a new approach, a new way of looking at things. And it just got me thinking about, how do we get to that point? How do we get to a point where we have recharged our batteries and we are ready for the challenges ahead? How do we sit down and think ahead and dream and think about the things that ignite us with passion and excitement without thinking of the everyday Groundhog Day? And do we have to go on a holiday in order to reach that point? Because many of us are not in a position to be able to do that. So I have a real treat for you today. I have a lady who first of all, I've attended a couple of her courses before. I've chatted to her numerous times before on radio, and she inspires me each and every time. And her name is Donna McCallum, and she is the Fairy Godmother. And she's going to be sharing her journey, her story, because you may very well be inspired by her story, because she changed her life completely, and you may be sitting at that point when you want to change everything, and she did it because she had this dream. And then she's going to be telling you and me how to make 2014 the very best year ever. In other words, she's going to tell us how we can make those dreams come true. Yeah, that's Gabriel on Conversations with Niki and Dreams, because dreams can come true, and I have the perfect person who is going to help us realize those dreams. But I suppose we first have to think about what our dreams are. So I'd like to welcome the Fairy Godmother, Donna McCallum, onto the show. Hello, Fairy Godmother.
Oh, hello, Niki. It's always so fabulous to be on your show, to be sprinkling fairy dust and waving my Fairy Godmother wand over you and your listeners today.
Oh, thank you, Donna. You know, you're always inspiring. Follow you on Facebook and Twitter, and it's just wonderful words of wisdom that you always seem to impart to everybody. So how was your break? Did you have a break? Did you have time out like I was explaining I did?
Absolutely, I had time out. I had a wonderful, wonderful break, and I always start my December break, Niki, with a meditation retreat. And I go away for 5 days into the mountains, into the Drakensberg, and I then meditate and yoga and be in silence. And it's just such an amazing kind of reset button, because exactly as you say, it gets to the end of the year, and you know, luckily my life, and as a Fairy Godmother, I'm not as frantic as everyone else. I make sure that I try to stay out of the busyness and out of the craziness and out of the overwhelm and exhaustion. But regardless of that, we live in such overwhelming times, so much technology, so much input, so much stuff, so much busyness going on around us, that you often need to take time out just to be silent, be still, meditate, go within. And I find that that really helps me to reflect on my year before and to go into the new year with huge boomer and energy and excitement.
Listen, it sounds ideal and perfect. And I'm sure, Donna, that there are people who are listening and they're thinking to themselves, well, you're so lucky. I mean, I wish I had your life. I wish I had the opportunity to go on a 5-day retreat, meditation retreat to the Drakensberg. But you weren't always like this. I mean, you created this reality for yourself. And I think that this is such a perfect time for our listeners to know that you can change things, and that perhaps if you're stuck, you can make a decision to change it. And it comes with a lot of courage, and there is risk, and sometimes there's a downside, but this is something that you yourself have done, and I just thought it would be so inspirational for our listeners to not only listen to your words of wisdom, but to how you actually got to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. If I look back, and this time 9 years ago, I was stressed out, overwhelmed, almost burnt out. I was running my own advertising and marketing business, and I was the kind of epitome of what our society calls successful. I was running my own business, had big clients, making money, living in Cape Town, beautiful apartments overlooking the ocean, and, but still having all of this like exhaustion, burnout, and also finding myself driving on my way to work and thinking, is this it? Is this what it's really all about? And even though I had this so-called successful life, it was like, where's the meaning? Where's the purpose? Where's the fulfillment in this? Where's my daily joy that I can tap into? It wasn't there. And I looked around at my life and kept thinking, but why isn't it here? This is like the perfect life. And, I believe, Niki, in a universe that conspires with us deliciously. Because life is always so supportive, even when we think it's not. Even when we think that the calamities are happening, they're really there to support us. And help us follow our true potential and our true purpose. And so at the time, I thought, what is this? And 6 months after starting to have those thoughts, I got an offer from a bigger agency group to buy me out of my business. And I thought, wow, this is almost what I've been asking for. And any one of your listeners that is listening today that has their own business, you'll know having your own business is like giving birth to a baby.
Yeah.
You really, even this show of yours, Niki, your radio show, right?
Sure, absolutely.
It's like your baby. It's the stuff that you put your creative love into. And so it was like, wow, do I really want to sell my 6-year-old child? And then it was like, yes, actually I do.
But did that answer come to you quickly, Donna? Did you have to think about it for a long time, or did you just feel that answer within?
I didn't have to think about it for very long. It probably took about a week or two, but because I'd been in this kind of questioning anyway for about 6 months before that, I knew when this answer came, it felt like a relief. And that's one of the things that I teach in my workshops and my talks now, Niki, is to feel into things. Our little inner voices can get so confusing. They can give us such conflicting advice.
Right.
One moment your little inner voice is saying, yes, this is a great idea, and then the next minute it's saying, no, that's not a good idea. And what I'm finding more and more in my life and in my work, and also with the people that I'm working with, is that when you actually feel into whatever question is happening in your life at that time, and then you tap into how it feels, that gives you a very good compass for which direction to move in. So when I felt into it, I felt relieved.
So let me just be clear on that and be clear, because I know this is your story, but you've said something very important.
Yeah.
Feel into something. So what do you ask the question to yourself and go into the sensation or the response? Is that what you're doing?
Exactly. So you close your eyes, you ask the question to yourself, you kind of get relaxed, you take a few deep breaths, you close your eyes, and you ask the question, or you consider the outcome, whatever thought you're thinking about, and then you feel in your body how it feels. There will normally be an emotional feeling attached to it. And if the emotional feeling is something like overwhelm or something like stress or anxiety, then it's a clear no. If the feeling is relief or joy or bliss or excitement or enthusiasm or inspiration, then it's a clear yes.
I hear you. I hear you. So you had this feeling, this was the right thing to do, to sell your baby.
It felt like a relief.
Okay.
And when it feels like, yes, it was like, okay, great. So I sold my business, and then I thought, what now? I was very fortunate. I had this blank space, and I thought, what now? And I'd always wanted to go traveling in South America. I'd always had this dream of learning how to speak Spanish, and I thought, right, this is my opportunity. And so I booked my ticket to South America, Niki, and off I went. And
did you know how long you were going for, Donna?
I knew, I booked it for 7 months. Because all of us have this little inner voice that says, you've got to get back and get to work.
Of course, absolutely.
You can't go forever.
Not just the little voice, all the other voices around you, I'm sure.
Exactly. What do you mean you're going on sabbatical? You can't really take time off from real life. And, this is one of the things that I see time and time again now, as my life as a fairy godmother is no longer real life, and it's fantastic. So I booked my tickets, off I went, and I went all over. I started to learn how to speak Spanish. I took Spanish lessons. I climbed to the top of Machu Picchu.
Wow.
I had the most incredible time. I partied like a crazy woman on the beaches of Brazil. It was incredible. And then, Niki, about 5 months into my trip, something happened that completely transformed my life. And And it's the reason why I am speaking to you on the radio today. It's the reason why I wear fairy wings and wave a wand and am called the Fairy Godmother and, inspire people around South Africa and around the world.
So what was it?
And well, what it was I was in this night bus in Argentina, and I was traveling from a city called Cordoba to Mendoza, and I was fast asleep. It was a bus that traveled through the night, and I was fast asleep. And suddenly I woke up, and I had this urge to write, and I thought, I've got to write. And luckily I had my little travel journal in my bag, and I grabbed it out of my bag, and I started to write. And the words literally just flowed out of me. It was the most incredible experience I've ever had in my life, Niki. I can't even explain it. It was like all sorts of things were coming out, and not even making sense or in any particular order. It was things about my past life, things about the future, titles for books, all sorts of things were coming out. And the best way for me to describe it was almost like I was vomiting myself up on a page. It was just like, bleh, all coming out. And what was interesting about it was over the course of a few hours, I wrote over 50 pages.
Sure.
And at the end of it, in 2 very neat little paragraphs, came out the purpose for my life. And it started by saying, I am a fantastically fabulous and magical fairy godmother with the power to manifest and create anything that I wish. And then in those 2 paragraphs, it really went on to describe the purpose of my life how my soul lights up when I really consider moving people into their most powerful potential and helping people ignite their dreams and goals and follow their vision for their lives.
So, Donna, I have to just stop you there. Was this something that you had been thinking about while you were on the strip and partying on the beaches in Brazil and climbing mountains? Were you saying, what am I going to go back to? What am I going to go back to? What is my purpose? Because to come back, to get to a point when you say I'm a marvelous fairy godmother, that's incredible.
Absolutely. It took me by
and did
surprise.
You take yourself seriously?
It completely took me by surprise, Niki. But I must say, the one thing I had certainly been asking myself the question as I had been traveling around South America, because, when you are on sabbatical, when you are taking time off, that is something that you ask. Right, I'm traveling around this beautiful continent, how fabulous, but what am I going to do when I get, what am I going to do when I get back? So there was certainly that question for me, and there was certainly the question around what is going to ignite my purpose? What is going to give me the fulfillment and meaning in my life? And so, but when this whole vision in this night bus in Argentina came along, it took me completely by surprise. Fairy godmother, are you kidding me? That's crazy. And I'd never been like a girly girl either, even growing up. I would much rather have climbed on jungle gyms and climbed trees than ever, put on little fancy fairy wings. I was a complete tomboy.
Yeah.
So I'm a fantastically fabulous and magical fairy godmother. I was like, what? What is this nonsense? But, Niki, and we've talked about feelings earlier and feeling into things, right? After it wrote itself, those 2 paragraphs, I felt into it, and the feeling that I had was inspiration, enthusiasm, joy. There was this feeling of being connected, this feeling of like, oh, wow, expansion, huge expansion. I had never felt that kind of depth of feeling before in my life ever. There was an aliveness to that moment in that night bus in Argentina where I knew it was it. There was no doubt for me. I had a deep, deep knowing that this is my purpose.
So the challenge, I suppose, is to stay with that passion, because I'm sure there are people who are listening right now who maybe they have felt in some way, okay, this is really what I want to do. This is what it's all about. And then, you go to bed that night and you wake up the next day and life happens and you lose it.
Yeah. And it's not just some people, Niki. It's every single one of us.
Yeah.
All of us have been tapped on the shoulder at some time, right, by divine inspiration that says to us, this is what you need to do, or this is where you should be going, or follow this. This is the passion. Here's your passion. Here's your inspiration. Or you've watched something and your soul has ignited. We all have felt those soul-igniting moments. And you're right. What happens is that little inner voice, that speaks to us in our heads, and if you're thinking, what inner voice is the voice that just went, what voice? That little voice goes, are you crazy? You can't do that. And then all the rational, logical, realistic reasons why you can't do it come in. And those often, and I deal with this all the time on my workshops, one of the courses that I launched last year, Niki, was something specifically to deal with this, and it's called Out of Fear into Fabulousness.
Mm.
And it's a 21-day program, particularly because we get ignited by our fabulousness. We get these, kind of inspiration. Wow, yes, wow, that would be fabulous. And then all these little doubts, all these little fears, all these little, thoughts creep in about why we can't do it.
Yeah, yeah. And you lose it. You lose that essence and that wonderful connection. That aha moment becomes a distant memory. So how did you do it? I mean, being so far away and having this epiphany, how come it didn't just go away? How come it just didn't just fade into the distance?
Well, there were two things that happened. The first is I knew that if I let the little inner voice, because already after I'd come up with it, and then when I read it back, the little inner voice was going crazy. Are you crazy? You can't do this. What do you mean, fairy godmother? That's such nonsense. And I thought, you know what? I have got to actually declare this quickly. And one of the things that I also teach in my workshop, my Create Your Dream Life workshop, is to actually go and tell people about your dreams and goals. Not everyone, but a few people about your big dreams and goals, because that way you start to be held accountable to them. And so I knew that if I didn't share it very quickly with some people in my life, then, the voice would come and squash the dream.
Right.
So I went, as we got off that night bus in Mendoza, I went to the nearest internet cafe, because these were the days before, everyone traveling around with iPads.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the nearest internet cafe, and I sat down, and I typed out an email, and I sent it to every single person in my email address book. So this wasn't just a few people. I decided to just spread it largely, right? I got courageous.
And what did you say? I mean, what did you say to everyone?
I said to everyone, as you know, I'm traveling around South America, and I have just had an epiphany, and I have found the purpose of my life, and I am so excited. And as a person who has touched my life, I'd like to share it with you. And I really ask you for your love and help and support. And then I shared it with them, those 2 paragraphs, and I sent it off, just off it went. It went to 423 people, Niki. So I didn't just send it to friends and family. I sent it to past clients and past suppliers and work colleagues and everyone. Everyone got it.
Very brave of you.
Yeah,
very
it
brave.
was very brave. And at the time, what happened was I received this kind of outpouring of response back. As you can imagine, I got some very, very interesting responses. And
check yourself into a mental institution, we'll pay the bill.
Exactly. And some of the responses were really positive and supportive, and some of the responses were really negative, what are you smoking? What are you doing over there in South America? But when I felt how I felt about this thing, I just knew that I had to do it. I just knew. And then I came back to South Africa, and I was all enthused about being a fairy godmother. But, Niki, I had no idea how it was going to work. No idea. And this is one of the big things. When you come up with your purpose, when you come up with a big dream, vision, goal, you're not going to know how it works. In fact, no great person who's ever done anything great has known how they're going to do it. They've just known that they are going to do it.
Okay.
That's the most important thing, to hold the vision, to hold the dream. I mean, if you consider our fabulous Madiba, Nelson Mandela, who we have been celebrating for the last month, right? He had no idea how he was going to create a free and fair and democratic South Africa when he came up with that dream and goal, and with his, his wonderful comrades. They just knew that they were going to do it. And
so then how do you take it to that next step? I mean, so you came back and you had this dream, and then?
And then people started saying to me, so what are you going to do now? Are you going to get back into advertising? Are you going to get back into marketing? Because people will try to kind of bring you back to the box that they've known you in.
Yeah, cool, sure.
And I was like, no, I'm going to be a fairy godmother. And people are like, yeah, we got the email. No, really, what are you going to do? And I said, no, really, I'm going to be a fairy godmother. And then all people's resistance came up. What do you mean you're going to be a fairy godmother? How are you going to make money being a fairy godmother? You can't just be a fairy godmother. You can't just make up a job description like that. And I kept saying to people, why not? And who knows how I'm going to make money? I'm just so clear on this vision. I know that my job is to inspire people, to get them to live their dreams and goals, and me living my dreams and goals is going to be this path. But people got so vehement, and they thought that I was crazy, Niki.
I can imagine.
And the voices on the outside got so loud, including the voices closest to me. I mean, my mother was absolutely horrified.
Because she was concerned,
Very concerned.
Right.
You've gone from owning your own advertising and marketing business and agency to now, what, fairy godmother? I mean, she was saying, what am I going to tell my friends that you do? And this is what a lot of us hear when we start on this path of our dreams and goals, right? I'm sure you've heard these kind of resistances to your dreams and goals that you've had.
Absolutely. You have to stand strong.
You have
But I
to
mean,
stand strong.
did you have a little niggle? Was there a little bit of fear that crept in every now and then?
There was huge fear, Niki. In fact, the fear came up so hugely that within 3 months of being back from South America, I decided that I had gone crazy.
Okay.
I thought, okay, this dream and goal, it's crazy. I mean, I can't be a fairy godmother. And so I started to compromise it. So I started to think, well, and I started to chat to a woman who I'd done some work with at the time, and she was into entrepreneurial development. And I started to compromise myself and compromise my dream and persuade myself that if I got involved in her business, which was entrepreneurial development, it was kind of sort of like being a fairy godmother. Because at least I was kind of sort of still inspiring people. And I started down this process with her of chatting to her about getting involved and being a partner in her business. And about 2 months later, I woke up one morning and I had the physical sensation like I was being strangled. I actually felt like I was being strangled. And one of the things that I've realized since my time in South America and on this process of being a fairy godmother is that our bodies don't lie. If your body is sending you physical signs and symptoms, if your body is feeling achy or has any pain or any sickness or dis-ease, it's because you're not on the right track. When you are in your own flow, when you are following your purpose, you are in health and vitality.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I can see that. Last year, I didn't have one sick day. Not one.
She was.
Not one.
That's amazing, Donna.
No colds, no flu, no whatever, because I'm on my path and I'm in my flow and I'm honoring my body and I'm honoring my energy and I'm honoring myself. And so I felt like I was being strangled. Woke up in the morning, felt like I was being strangled. This physical sensation, sore throat, feels, and I thought, what is this? And I took out my journal. And one of the things that I teach in my workshops, Niki, is journal. Get yourself a journal, put it next to your bed, and whenever you have questions, whenever you're feeling confused, whenever you're feeling angsty, whenever you're feeling any stress or anxiety, just write it. And what happens is the insights come out. All the wisdom sits inside us. We just often don't allow ourselves the time to let it out. And so I started to journal, scribbled on my journal, and it was so clear. And it said, I want to be a fairy godmother. And I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know how it works, and I don't know how I'm going to make money, and I don't know any of that stuff, but that's the point. Because anyone who starts their dreams and goals has no idea what any of this looks like.
Wow. So then?
So then I went into this wonderful woman, and I said to her, I'm sorry, I can't be involved in your business. I need to be a fairy godmother. She was very disappointed. And then as I walked out, you know, the universe is so beautiful, and call it whatever you want. You can call it life, you can call it universe, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever your religious belief is, whatever the divine is for you. The divine is so on our sides and so supportive, because as I walked out from telling her that, you know, I need to be a fairy godmother, as I walked out, I bumped into an old work colleague of mine on the street, a fabulous designer. And he said to me, wow, fabulous, you're back from South America, so lovely to see you. What are you doing now? And I said, I'm a fairy godmother. And he said, yes, I got the email. And he said, have you designed any of your business cards yet? And I said, no, I haven't actually. And he said, oh my goodness, Fairy Godmother is a brand. I would love to design your logo and your business cards.
Fantastic.
And I said to him, Justin, wow, he's one of the top designers in the country. And I said, Justin, wow, that's amazing, but, you know, I can't afford you. And he said, you know what, let's do a barter deal. I'll design your logo and your business cards, and you do your Fairy Godmother work on me. And he was my first client.
That was your first step. So the question of how am I going to do it, the next day the answer came.
Absolutely.
Gee,
and that's
Donna.
the thing with the hows. I call them the dreaded hows, because we get so stressed and anxious about how it's all going to happen. And the hows are actually not up to you. What is up to you is the what. What do I want to do? What is up to you is the why. Why do I want to do this? Right? So the what is, I want to be a fairy godmother. Why? Because I want to live a life of inspiration, inspiring myself and inspiring others.
And the how will come.
And the how takes care of itself.
Donna, we're going to take a break. I think your story is fantastic. After the break, we'll continue with how you went from this barter deal, having your business card designed and helping this Justin, to helping thousands and thousands of people and traveling all over the world and doing it. So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is S.V. Prinsloo, and I'm the HOD of IT Integration at Bridwin Preparatory School in Melrose. We started using study apps about 6 months ago and have seen astonishing results. We were quite amazed to see how quickly the kids have been able to use study apps and the benefits it has shown with regards to reinforcing what they've already learned inside the classroom. I would highly recommend study apps for any school.
Studyapps.co.za. Well, welcome back. If you have just tuned in, hello, Niki Seberini here. This is Conversations with Niki, and thank you so much for tuning in. I'm welcoming our syndication partner listeners. That's Bay FM, West Coast FM, Wild Coast FM, Kawi FM, MC 90.3 FM, Neisner FM, Eldo's FM, and Chai FM. And also reminding you that we have this fab giveaway, courtesy of tabletworld.co.za. I'm giving away an Android Colpad 2 7-inch Wi-Fi tablet. And if you would like a chance to win that, you've just got to go to my Facebook page. So that's facebook.com/conversations with Niki, Niki spelled Niki, and like the page. And if you like the page, your name's going to be entered into a draw which will take place early Feb. And who knows, maybe you'll be starting 2014 with this marvelous tablet courtesy of tabletworld.co.za. So we're talking about 2014, we're talking about making your dreams a reality, and I have the wonderful Fairy Godmother Donna McCallum on the show, and she's been sharing her story of selling her business, going to South America and having this epiphany, this on a bus in Argentina, and writing down this desire to help people reach their dreams and their goals. And what a fascinating story it is, and I just think it's such a wonderful story, especially this time of the year, because maybe that's what December was for you, thinking about the fact that it's not enough what you're doing, and you want more, and maybe you want to make changes, but you're stuck and you just don't know how to do it. So we're going to continue with that story. Really what Donna is going to be doing in the next half hour, because she's going to be giving us some tips as well, is telling us to wake up. So we thought we'd play the song just to get you in the mood. In the words of John Legend, wake up everybody, and maybe that's what this show is going to be, a wake-up call to make the changes, to be the person that you want to be, and have a greater impact in the world today. So, Donna, back to you and your wonderful story, and I think that it's really important to repeat what we ended just before the break with, and that is not focusing on the how, but looking at the why and the what.
Exactly. So why do you want to do the things that you want to do? And what do you really want to do? What do you want to create in the world? What type of life do you want to live? And then forget about the hows. In fact, last night I was doing a web seminar with one of the groups that's on one of my programs. And the biggest feedback from people in terms of what they'd learned was not focusing on the hows, literally focusing on their dream and goal. And I give people lots of tips and tricks on how to do that on my website, in my workshops, all of those things. But it's not about the how. The how will take care of itself.
So, in your case, it took care of itself because it was the serendipitous bumping into someone who said, I'll design your business card and I will be your first client or your first, I don't know, person to help as being the fairy godmother.
Exactly.
So,
and that's
how was that experience?
It was amazing because I had no idea what that looked like. So he said, how does it work? And I said, you know what? I'll get back to you. I'll send you an email later today about how that's going to work. And so I went back, sat down at a coffee shop behind my laptop and thought, oh my goodness, how is it going to work? And that's what life is about, you know. So many times I have people come to my dream mapping and goal setting workshop or my Create Your Dream Life workshop, and people say to me, you know, I don't know enough. How could I I don't know enough to do this dream and goal. And the reality is, as a human being, Niki, we only ever learn by doing. Like when you went to your first job ever, did you know what you were doing?
No, absolutely.
You had no idea what you were doing. Like none of us had any idea. I mean, how did we ever get those jobs to start off with? I've got no idea. But you got into this first job, and there you were, and your eyes were big and wide open, and there was someone to train you. And as they were training you and showing you all this stuff, you know, you said to them, geez, how do you know how to do all these things? And they said, it's easy. And then you learned and you experienced and you did some of the things and you made some mistakes, and sometimes you might have cried your eyes out thinking, oh, you're not making it work. And then 6 months later, a year later, you were absolutely feeling, you know, proficient and fabulous.
Sure.
And then the next new trainee would come in and it was your job to train them. And they'd look at you and go, geez, how do you know how to do all this stuff? And you'd be like, whatever.
Too true.
Yeah. So it's not about knowing how. It's not about having expertise and experience. You can only get the experience and expertise through doing. And that's why I often laugh when people say to me, oh, so you're a fairy godmother. Oh, okay. Well, you know, what did you study to be a fairy godmother? Or, you know, what qualification do you have to be a fairy godmother? And I say to them, you know, of course, I've been to Fairy Godmother University. But it's not about the qualification. It's about the fact that I've been a fairy godmother for the last 8 years and have had now over 16,000 people go through my workshops, my programs, my talks.
That's fantastic.
And been inspired and ignited around living their dreams and goals.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Donna, I mean, helping someone realize dreams and goals, and you spoke about being clear on a purpose on this bus in Argentina. And I had on the show not so long ago Louise Mowbray, who was talking about looking back on 2013, and the secret is finding your purpose.
Yes.
And that being the greatest challenge is finding your purpose, because if you know your purpose, then I suppose everything else will unfold. And you were asking the questions and you were kind of divinely inspired on this bus. But for people who are listening now, finding that purpose and getting clear on that, is that a difficult process?
It's not a difficult process. I mean, it's something that I do in one day with people. I mean, you've been through a workshop with me. It's a process that I take people through in one day on my Create Your Dream Life workshop. It's a process that gets ignited, you know, when people come to my website, fairygodmother.co.za. There are lots of tips and tricks. So, you know, finding your purpose is easy or difficult depending on how you view it. If you think that finding your purpose is going to be difficult, then it's going to be difficult.
Right.
If you think that finding your purpose is going to be easy, then it's going to be easy. Life is created by the stories we tell ourselves. Life is created by the words we use and the stories that we tell ourselves in our minds. And so one of the things that I teach in my Create Your Dream Life workshop is how to use words to shift your stories and to shift into your purpose.
And Donna, along the way, I'm sure there were many challenges. I'm sure there were things that you did that you wish you hadn't done. And, maybe there were times when you thought maybe being a fairy godmother is not the way to go. Did you have those moments?
Let me tell you, I have wanted to give up many, many times.
Really? Listen, the honesty is fantastic, because I'm sure so many people can relate to that.
Many, many times. Absolutely. I have moments when I still today think, what? I mean, now I live the most extraordinary life. I travel around this beautiful country. I travel around the world doing this work. I get to live wherever I want. I don't live winters. I live the eternal summer. So, now when I look back, but even up until 2.5 years ago, 2011 was the last time that I had real big doubts. And that was already 6 months into living the dream. 6 years into living the dream.
And what did you do with that?
You know, always when that doubt comes, always when the struggle comes or the frustration comes, it's really about reevaluating. It's really about looking and saying, and it's life or the universe saying, oh, you're not quite on track. And it was because I wasn't. It was because I was trying to do it all myself. Back in 2011, I was trying to do it all myself, and I wasn't getting the help and support that I needed. And really, that whole kind of period, it was about a 2 or 3 month period of really thinking, oh, no, I'm not enjoying this. Oh, what is this? Oh. Which was so weird because I'd been loving it so much prior to that. And then it was just like, oh, okay, it's because I'm doing this on my own. It's getting hard and struggly.
Right.
It's becoming effortful because I'm not pulling in the support that I need.
And how does it feel knowing that you've helped change so many people's lives?
Oh, it's the reason why I keep doing what I do. You know, I get emails every week. I get, people on my Facebook page or Twitter or whatever, and just getting emails from people. I got one yesterday, just saying, how someone's life has shifted, and I'm just like, wow, that's why I do the work. That's why I do the work, and I also do the work because I get to live my dreams, which is fabulous. And also, one of the things that I shared, I was going through, we all go through difficult times. So, often people say to me, how do you stay positive all the time?
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm not positive all the time. I do have my days when I wake up grumpy, and I do have my days when I'm like, oh, this is not working, right? But one of the things that I said last year on one of my webinars, I was going through a bit of a struggle day, and I was sharing that with the participants on one of my programs, and I was saying, oh, and one of the participants said to me, Donna, do you know why you teach us what you teach us? And I said, no, tell me. And she said, it's so that when you forget, we can remind you.
Isn't that wonderful?
And that's what life's about.
Yeah.
None of us are gurus. I think that the age of the gurus is gone. It's done. You are your own guru. The wisdom all sits inside you. And so through my programs, through my workshops, I'm not teaching you. I'm not the guru. What I'm doing is I'm igniting that innate wisdom that already sits inside you so that you can be the guru of your life.
And Donna, so you say you're not perfect. You don't have the perfect day every day. You have hard times. There are times when you can also feel a bit depressed or whatever it is, or frustrated.
Sure.
So who's there for Donna? And what do you do to create? You spoke about going on this 5-day retreat to the Drakensberg, but what do you do when you're pouring so much of your energy out and you're connecting with so many other people? But who helps you charge the battery and keep igniting the passion?
So there are a few things. One of the things that I teach in my Create Your Dream Life workshop is how to create your supporting cast. And these are the people around you who can really support you around your dream and goal, because no person who's ever done anything great has done it alone.
Right.
And this has often been my tripping up points. I always believe that I've got to be this warrior woman, this strong superwoman, and go out and do it on my own. And this has been one of my big lessons as a fairy godmother is, you know what? The more people that you've got supporting you, the better. The more people you can ask for help and support, the better. The easier it becomes, the more effortless it becomes, the more fun it becomes, because you're surrounded by people, who love you and who are willing to support you. And so I have the most amazing supporting cast that I've created over the last 8 or 9 years of being a fairy godmother. They consist of mentors, other fellow colleagues and teachers, very good friends. And then I've also got something called the Conscious Creators Community, who is a group of people who've done my work and done a lot of my programs, who are committed to living their big dreams and goals and committed to helping other people do the same. And so there's 250 of those people in an online community who are around the world and who are living their dreams and goals and keep me on track as well, as much as I help them keep themselves on track. So,
sorry, Donna. I've just found it very interesting in the past. People that I've interviewed, entrepreneurs, people who've had their own business, following their dreams, and they all talk about having a support system.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's possibly something that holds people back is asking for help, asking for assistance. And that's my question. Did you go and ask people to be the support, to hold you at times? Because this is your dream. This is your passion. How do you get other people to share your passion? How do you get that supporting cast?
Yeah. Absolutely, it's about asking for the help and support, and I actively went out and asked for the help and support.
Okay.
Actively. Here's a little thing. You know how it feels, Niki, when someone comes and asks you for advice or asks you for help and support. You feel great.
Yeah, it's great.
And
it's
you
fabulous.
give it to them, right? And when you give them your advice, when you give them your help, when you give them your support, it makes you feel fabulous. What I realized, because previously I would think like, oh, I've got to do it on my own. Oh, it's going to be weak. People are going to think I'm weak. People are going to think that I don't know enough. People are going to think it's going to diminish me asking for help and support. And that all changed when I changed the framework. And the framework was, when I actually ask people for help and support, I am giving them the gift of that feeling that you feel when you help and support somebody.
It's a great way of looking at it. It's great.
So you were saying to me, how does it feel to know that I've helped and supported thousands of people? It feels amazing. And that's how it feels for other people when they help and support me.
Great. So, Donna, I mean, can you see this evolving? Is it evolving all the time? And how? How do you keep it changing and being relevant for people?
Absolutely, it's evolving all the time. And, you know, that's the reality. Life is about evolution. All of us are wanting to grow and thrive and prosper and evolve. Life is about that. You know, often people will say to me, but I feel guilty for wanting more. And I say, no, don't feel guilty for wanting more. That's how life is. Everything in life evolves. Everything wants to grow more.
Yeah.
That's how life is. So, yes, my journey as a fairy godmother is certainly evolving. And, I'd love to tell you some of the things that are happening in 2014. So apart from doing, you know, a series of workshops now that I'm doing in the beginning of the year, which are Create Your Dream Life, which I'm doing around the country, Joburg, Cape Town, Durban, Port Elizabeth. So those people who are listening can go and find out more information at fairygodmother.co.za. I've also got a lot of my online courses happening throughout the year. But the two big exciting things that I'm very excited about for 2014, which is the evolution for Fairy Godmother, the first is that I am going to be training up facilitators to do the workshops.
Wow.
So I'm going to be training up armies of fairy godmothers.
Little ones.
Little fairy godmothers around the world to go and start spreading the work. Because I also know that I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You know, there's only so many workshops I can do, so many people that I can reach. And there's so many people who have just been like, yes, we'd love to. 2 years ago, I started doing this work in schools. I started doing a workshop called Map Your Dream Career. And it's so powerful for, you know, teenagers to get like, wow, clear on their big dreams and goals. And I can't do all the schools in this country.
No, you can't.
In a year.
That's part of the letting go and getting assistance, isn't it?
Absolutely, asking for help and support. So I'm going to be training up facilitators, which is very exciting.
Great.
And then the other big thing that we're doing, which we'll be launching in April, is something called the Flow Experiment. And the Flow Experiment is a new online program that I'm going to be running, that is going to be running for at least a year. And this is about teaching people about the concept of flow. And flow is living in ease, living in effortlessness, living in flow. So it is getting rid of that struggle, getting rid of the effort, getting rid of the stress and the anxiety.
Listen, that sounds divine. Can you please give us a tip here and now?
You know, there are two things. There are two big tips when it comes to flow. The first is find a purpose.
Yeah.
And create that big dream and goal that creates the journey and that creates the inspiration and enthusiasm for you around the journey. The second, and the interesting thing about flow is that these two have to be held together. The second is that even though you have this big dream and goal that you're not necessarily living, that's creating the journey for you, every step along the journey, every moment by moment, be present, connect to the present, and delight in the experience that you're having right now.
Yeah. And that's a challenge in the world that we live in.
Absolutely. Because we're so focused on either the future or the past.
Yeah.
We find it very difficult to be in the present. We're so focused on the little WhatsApp message that we've just got, or the SMS, or the you know, the Twitter thing that's just come in for us, or whatever. We're so in our heads, we're so in the mind that it's quite challenging for people to be here now in the present.
Listen, I think the Flow Experiment sounds fantastic, and I wish you so much success with all of that. We've got about about 11 or 12 minutes, Donna, and I've been saying to everyone, you've changed things. You're living your dream. You have this clear purpose, and you're helping so many people do it. So for our listeners, the beginning of 2014, some people are inspired. Maybe others haven't had the chance to recharge their batteries. They're feeling flat. They're not feeling particularly excited about anything. What can they do to try and make this 2014 a fabulous year?
Well, I have 5 fabulous Fairy Godmother tips and tricks.
Yay!
For how people can make 2014 their best year yet.
Great.
So tip number 1, Niki, is to reflect back on 2013. You were saying that you had a guest in last year who was talking about reflecting back on 2013. Always important to reflect back before you create the future.
Okay.
And it's important because you learn such powerful lessons from reflection. So take out a piece of paper and a pen right now and write down at least 10 successes that you had in 2013. And when you write down those successes don't need to be big pinnacle moments. They can be anything that brought you satisfaction, joy, fulfillment. So it could be spending more time with your family, or getting that promotion at work, or, having a fabulous beach holiday, or whatever it was that brought you fulfillment, joy, satisfaction.
Okay.
I always recommend to people that they write down the successes first, and then you go on to what didn't work about 2013.
Okay.
Because if you do it the other way around, you'll write a whole long list about what didn't work, and then you won't even be able to think about the successes.
Okay.
All right?
And actually write them down. Don't think about them. You've got to sit down with a pen and paper and write it. Commit.
Exactly, because when you actually write it down, things come up that you wouldn't have even thought of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very important. Doing these as written exercises is super important.
Okay, so fulfillment, joy, satisfaction, and then what didn't work as well.
Exactly. And once
Okay.
you've done that, you can see the things that are working in your life and the things that are not working, the things that you want to bring into 2014, the things that you want to leave behind in 2013. Then you flip the page or piece of paper over to the other side, and you start doing an exercise in what I call wishful thinking. Wishful thinking means no constraints, not being realistic. Wishful thinking means if you could have anything, if you could do anything, if you could be anything, what would it be?
I'm getting excited just thinking about it.
Exactly. Just
Is that
not
the
realistic.
purpose? Is that the purpose, Donna, to get really excited?
Exactly. And it's not about being realistic, and it's not about like from where you are now, like what would be the next incremental step. It's like if you had your fairy godmother standing in front of you ready to wave her wand right now, and she said, you can have anything that you want, what would you wish for?
Okay.
Right? What did your perfect day look like? If money wasn't an object, right? How would you live your life? What would you do? What would you spend your time doing? What would you want to have in your life? Like that.
Okay. And you write them down.
And you write it all down. Get wishful thinking and take as long as you can, right? Don't just do it for 5 minutes. Do it for 15 or 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I also highly recommend sitting in nature while you do it, because nature is such a powerful force for us all. And when you connect to nature, it also just ignites that possibility, potential, bigness of thinking.
Okay. And
Then, once you've got all excited about all of this wishful thinking, don't let that inner voice start going, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? Then look down your list and look at the thing that ignites you and delights you and excites you the most.
even though it's unrealistic.
Even though it's unrealistic.
Okay.
Even though it's unrealistic, the thing that ignites you, delights you, excites you the most, and it also might terrify you. You also might feel a bit scared about it.
Right.
But look at that thing, all right, and then write it separately. And that is your big dream goal that you're working on, all right?
Okay.
Now, even if you don't know how to do it, even if it's not realistic, I highly recommend that you commit to the big dream and goal. In fact, in my Create Your Dream Life workshops, you've been on it, Niki. You know that I teach people about setting wildly improbable goals. And the reason why is because it's encapsulated in a beautiful quote by Michelangelo. And he said, the greatest danger for human beings is not that we aim too high and miss, but that we aim too low and reach it.
Such wise words.
So aim high, have the big dream and goal. You know, we've all heard that thing, shoot for the moon, you know, shoot for the stars, and maybe you'll land on the moon, right? So if you have the big dream and goal, this creates the powerful life. This creates the extraordinary.
What about the disappointment factor, though?
You see, this is where, we were talking about the flow experiments, right? It's not about the how, and you are never given a dream or goal that you can't make happen. And I've seen this time and time again. I write about this in my book. You will never be able to conceptualize of a dream and goal that you do not have the ability to make happen. Now, you say, what about the disappointment factor? The disappointment factor comes in because you have expectations of the timelines in which this is due to happen.
Okay.
Because if this beautiful, fabulous mansion that you are thinking about hasn't manifested in a year, you get impatient and you get cross and then you give up. Or if your, best-selling book hasn't manifested within 6 months, because we're impatient. We live in an impatient era. We want things to happen and happen now. We're all addicted to quick fixes and quick results.
Okay, I hear you.
Life doesn't work like that. Life will never disappoint you. Life just often doesn't play out the way you expect it to.
Okay, fine. So we think of one or two of these huge, wonderful, these wishful thinking goals.
Yes, these big dreams and goals. And then you commit to it. You write it down on a Post-it note.
Okay.
And you pop that Post-it note everywhere in your life. You pop it up on a bathroom mirror. You pop it up next to your bed, on your fridge. Just a beautiful reminder. And the reason why I recommend that you pop your big dream and goal up on a Post-it note, even if you don't know how to do it or what the next step is, that doesn't matter. Pop it up. And I tell you why, because the mind is like a missile. The mind is brilliant. When it has a target, it starts finding and figuring out the way to hit that target. The problem for most people, though, Niki, is that they don't realize that the mind is like a missile, and they've never been taught this technology. And so, when the mind doesn't have a target, it instead goes to wandering and wavering and worrying and doubting and thinking about the problem. When it's got a target, it gets excited and starts working out the way to get to that target.
Yeah. And I can imagine having these little Post-its all over with this wonderful dream attached. You're in a state of enthusiasm, aren't you?
Absolutely.
You look at it and you get that little bubble, the enthusiasm. And enthusiasm, when you start anything, it just adds a whole different dimension to whatever it is that you're doing.
Absolutely. And sometimes you might look at it and think, oh, how am I going to do that?
Okay.
Oh my goodness, it's too big. That's when that little voice is coming in, those little fears. And just know that those are the fears, and that's okay, and it's absolutely normal, and it's just the target. And your mind, the divine inspiration, the flow of life will show you the way. If you're clear on the target, you will be shown the way.
Okay. So, Post-its, and then what do we do?
And then it's time to get into a bit of action. And so my tip is to start taking one small action every day towards this big dream and goal. So you might say, but this big dream and goal is so big, I don't even know what action to take. Which is why it is so amazing that we live in this amazing era where we have Google. Google is the ultimate helper of making dreams and goals come true. Because if you don't even have any idea what action to take, then just jump onto Google and start researching whatever the dream or goal is.
Right.
Other people who've done it. Get onto Twitter and start following other people who've done it. If your big dream and goal is to be one of the top fashion designers in South Africa, then follow fashion designers in South Africa. Jump onto the internet and start reading about fashion. Start reading about top designers. Start researching. That can be your small action.
Fabulous.
It can be and I recommend that your small action every day take 5 or 10 minutes. It's not something that you have to commit to for an hour a day. Even if your big dream and goal is to be fit and healthy and sexy in your 60-kilogram body, 10 minutes, if you did 10 minutes a day of exercise and training for the next 365 days, you would have that.
Okay, so taking action.
Take
small action every single day. And the last point?
The last point is the most important one. And this is the one that really helps you to stay in flow and helps you to enjoy the journey while you're doing it and not get into the disappointment. And that is, write down a list. My soul lights up when I. And write down all the things that make your soul light up. So whatever it is, like my soul lights up when I watch a sunset. My soul lights up when I walk with barefoot feet in grass. My soul lights up when I surf. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then every single day in 2014, commit to doing one thing each day that makes your soul light up. You will certainly, if you do one thing every day that makes your soul light up, have 2014 be your best year yet.
I love those points, Donna. So for people who want to find out more and get more information, they should go to your website.
Absolutely. fairygodmother.co.za. It's very simple. You'll find more details about my workshops, my talks. I've got a whole host around the country that are coming up now in January and February. All my programs that I run. You can also find me on Twitter at Fairy Godmother, and then on Facebook. You can search Fairy Godmother, or it's facebook.com/the Fairy G.
The Fairy G. Listen, Donna, you have come onto the show. You have sprinkled your wonderful fairy dust. I'm inspired, and I know that the listeners are inspired as well. And hopefully 2014 is just going to be the year of dreaming and making those dreams a reality. So thank you, Donna McCallum. Thank you, Fairy Godmother.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, Niki. Big wand waves, big sprinkles of fairy dust to you. And I have no doubt that your dreams and goals are coming true in 2014.
Oh, thank you, Donna. And thank you so much for tuning in. It's been wonderful, wonderful spending time with you. I hope you're inspired for a fabulous 2014. Until next week, from me, Niki Seberini, take care of yourself. Goodbye.
Hi, my name is Prinsloo, and I'm the HOD of IT Integration at Bridwin Preparatory School in Melrose. We started using study apps about 6 months ago and have seen astonishing results. We were quite amazed to see how quickly the kids have been able to use study apps and the benefits it has shown with regards to reinforcing what they've already learned inside the classroom. I would highly recommend study apps for any school.
Studyapps.co.za. Conversations with Niki was brought to you by Studyapps.co.za, South Africa's leading education app for tablets.